So welcome to part 3 of our interview with Cristina Kudlock, where she talks to us about search engine optimization, or SEO. Now, there was so much content here, we had to break it into 3 segments so that we could accurately give you all the information that you're going to need to know. And in this episode, she's going to put all the finishing touches on what you need to be able to utilize SEO in a wholesaling business and propel your business to new heights. So stay tuned as Cristina takes it away and brings it home for us right now. Well, one of the things that you talked about the advantages of wholesaling, and I completely agree. Particularly if you live in one area but you want to market in another area, because you clearly can do that. You do it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the advantages for people that may be watching, though, of doing a flip, at least early on, is that you do learn a lot more about the process of what you're really, getting into when you buy a property, when you're going to, fix it up, remarket it. And
100%.
that experience is pretty valuable even when you're wholesaling. I know that in our case, our very first deal that we did was a flip, and we we had some money set aside, for our business and to get started, but we hadn't really worked on banking relationships and private lenders and all that sort of thing. So we came into a deal, and we pretty much funded everything out of pocket. Well, we got to the point where we had set aside our marketing budget to run for the year. Even if we didn't do a single deal, we had enough marketing to do every single month, because we knew that staying consistent with our marketing was a key element. But because
Uh-huh.
we didn't learn the lesson of setting up your financial relationships to do flips in advance, what ended up happening was we had all of our free capital tied up in this project, and we still had the money set aside for marketing, but we had to pull back because, well, if we got something, as a result of the marketing, we couldn't afford to do it. And so the day that it closed, we made, we made, 70,000 or something, and it was a great first flip. But the check that came back, we're like, wow, this is all the money in the world, because it's, a couple 100,000. And, then we looked at each other like, but wait, most of that's our own money coming back to us. This is really not the way to do it. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the downside to doing flips is that oftentimes you can wholesale or even wholetail a property and make the same margin that you would have had you done the flip. And obviously that's a lot less time and a lot less risk. And so for us, if we get into something and we realize, hey, we got into this right, and another investor would love to have this, and we can make the same as we'd make by flipping it if we just wholesale it. So
Mm-hmm.
we go ahead and do that. We do a balance of things. We love the flips because it is fun to improve a property that really, needed some love, make it look nice, put a happy family in there, and, make, a nice ROI. But um, we just mentioned all the positive stuff about flipping and only some of the negatives, but you do get, some key learnings out of that. But I totally support, particularly for people getting started, learning wholesaling and even virtual wholesaling is a way to supercharge your business and kind of bypass a couple of the pitfalls that we ran into.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody that's maybe they're just getting started, they want to get into wholesaling because maybe they have somewhat limited capital?
Mm-hmm.
Would you have them wholesale locally, virtually? Doesn't matter. What kind of guidance could you give there?
I do think that there's a lot to be learned of just doing the market that you're in when you're starting out, especially if you don't have I mean, if you're going to go and do the virtual model right off the get-go, that's, I guess, an option. But for most people, when you're starting out, getting a face-to-face is probably going to be really helpful and really impactful as you're learning. So I think unless you have a market that like really puts some prohibitors on you being able to do deals there, like, and I would say probably just really small markets where you're not seeing a lot of investors in the area. If there's not a lot of investors in your market, that's because it's going to be really hard to move a deal if because that's the
Sure.
whole thing, we're
The
selling
same
to end
people that are your
buyers.
competition on the acquisition side, they're also a necessary part of your disposition when you want to
Right.
sell that. Yeah, got it.
Right. So unless you're in a really, really small market and there's no buyers there, I think starting off in your own market is, it's kind of like a set of training wheels. It's easier to build rapport with people in person. You
Sure.
have to already kind of know what you're doing, I think, to do it all over the phone. And you could also do like, we've recently started incorporating some Zoom appointments into our like our process. But I do think that giving yourself an edge by visiting with people in your actual market will probably give you the edge that you need when you are starting. But you know, you got to kind of like, my biggest piece of advice to somebody starting out is to pick a marketing channel that you're going to do. And with all the marketing channels, I really do think all of them work. It's if you're working them right. And so picking something that like works with your skill set or works with your abilities and what you will actually be consistent at is just so important. And then also, you know, it kind of has to do with your budget too. When I was starting off, I did start doing direct mail, and I realized that that was going to burn through my budget like pretty quickly. So I started looking at some other avenues. But as long as you're consistent at it, consistency is key.
That's a great key learning, and something that we kind of knew going in,
Mhm.
because when we got some help in setting up our business and got some, some excellent mentoring, and that was one of the first things we were told is make sure that you can market consistently, don't pull back, don't stop. And if you only have X amount of capital, divide that up over, a 6 month period of time, and just, use that much. And then as you start to do, some acquisitions and start to make some capital, plow that back into the business, and,
Right.
and kind of, scale it from there. So
100%.
that's super useful on the wholesaling front, on the virtual wholesaling front. What other advice would you have for somebody that's maybe just thinking about getting started, and they're really wondering, hey, is real estate for me? Is it not? Seems like there's a lot of people out there being successful with this. Should I jump in or shouldn't I? What would you tell that person? What would you tell the Christina that, had, just moved to LA, and you're like, you know what, maybe I should do this? What would you tell that Christina?
I guess what I would probably tell them is like why you want to do it, right? For me, why I wanted to get started was to build something that really I didn't like, nobody else could tell me no, right? When you're earning and you're in a W-2 position, you usually have some sort of a cap unless
Uh,
you're going to switch positions and everything. But it really, the shift that it took me to get from a W-2 worker to a business owner is just, I mean, it took me years before I was actually operating like a business owner instead of just, treating it as a job, or even at some points as a hobby. Because, for the first few years, I just, I didn't have the consistency that I do now. And so really thinking if that is something that that you're built out for. A lot of people aren't risk takers. I'm a
sure.
risk taker. So it has always kind of fit with my personality, but just, assessing on if you can handle that inconsistency, that is sure, usually your first year is going to bring. And then also, I think too, if you're willing to put in the work, because there's some points you're like, oh, I'm going to be a business owner, and then, I'm going to have to work less. And I think most people will tell you that, like, when they are first starting out their business, until they really have some good systems in place, you work a lot more than you ever did with a W-2 job.
That's right.
A lot more. So just kind of assessing if that's the direction you want to go, because it's easy to post stuff on social media, and we get like people act like it's an easy thing, and it's not an easy
And
thing.
then you find out they're standing in front of somebody else's Lambo taking this
Yeah,
picture.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. No.
I totally agree with that, determining that mindset, because my belief is that the most in terms of, reaching your full potential from a wealth and a business owner standpoint, the most
Mhm,
dangerous place to be is in a job that pays you just well enough that you're meeting your needs and you have most of the stuff you want, because then you're comfortable.
mhm.
And it takes another life event for a lot of people to say, you know what, yeah, I'm comfortable now, but I want to kind of reach, beyond and do something more. And for most people, particularly younger people, they like that W-2 job because they like that weekly direct deposit and they like those benefits. But,
Mhm.
for people that, for whatever reason, evaluate themselves and say, yeah, you know what, I can do this. I can manage that risk. I can be comfortable with that. I know what I'm getting into, but I'm going to pay the price. In almost without exception, those people are going to be,
Yeah.
richly rewarded for that. And I'm so happy to see that, that you have been. And, I know you, so I know that, you're the real deal. You're not standing in front of somebody else's Lambo like we just talked about. And that's not, really what your business is about anyway. And that's
No.
something else that we really admire. Well,
Yeah.
any other advice or thoughts that you might like to share? Kind of an open forum here, because you've got a lot to offer. If there's anything that I haven't asked you, I'd love to have you just throw it out there.
Yeah, you know what? I think being around other people that are doing it is just so, so important. Like you guys starting a RIA, those, if that's what people need to get their, or that is usually what people need to like get their foot in the door and be around other people who know more, who that they can learn from. And then like from joining our mastermind, I mean, that's been everything too,
Sure.
to just, and for me too, I think a big thing that like Investor Fuel has done for me is getting me friends that are doing what I'm doing, because entrepreneurship can be such a lonely road, especially, with me, like I have a virtual model. Like I don't even like I'm on the phone, but I don't even like get in front of sellers anymore.
Right.
Right. And so it can be a lonely profession if you don't, depending on how big your team is. Now we're starting to grow. And so that's been cool to have like teammates or employers or whatever it is. But yeah, just getting around other people who are like-minded and start to have things in common with you, it makes my life more fun, right? Because you start doing this usually for the money because it's cool, like it's
Sure.
I make way more than I ever did at
Yeah.
my W-2, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what got you started. But at the end of the day, if you're just doing it for the money, it can become very monotonous.
It's a
And
job. Right.
yeah, exactly. It's a job. And so, finding other reasons that why you do it, like, I really do just like helping people with their houses. And, our mastermind has given me a lot of really cool opportunities to just meet other people that do who understand my troubles. And then like even like meeting Cristina, your wife, is my accountability partner, and we meet every Monday. And that even like just that is like everything, to be able to talk to somebody about like the nooks and crannies of your business, and just bounce ideas off of, and yeah, just have fellowship with other people that understand.
That's great advice. I know from, hearing her say it so often that my wife looks forward to the meeting that you guys have weekly. It's almost like the high point of her week. I should probably
Oh,
be
yep.
jealous, but she loves meeting with you, and I know she gets a lot out of that. And I think you're absolutely right. Investor Fuel has been great for us in terms of the people that we've gotten to meet and develop relationships with. And the,
Right.
the further you go down this path, the harder it is to talk to other people about what we do, because they really don't understand. And so,
100%.
yeah, it's so important to be around people that do what you do.
Right.
Some people ask me, well, why am I not concerned about having, peers in my own market? And, am I not worried about how they're going to, take my ideas and capitalize on them? And I'm like, well, I hope they do, because the
Yeah.
real estate market is large enough everywhere that, to have, friends that are basically my competitors as well. We almost never knowingly run into somebody that we know in
Yeah.
competition, and if we do, that kind of makes it more fun. But it's a really rare thing. So I think
Right.
I'm glad you brought that point up, because the tribe mentality of being around people that kind of get you is so important. And if you don't have a team, if you're working solo and you're doing virtual wholesaling, you're right. You'd never meet anyone in person,
Yeah,
and it could be kind of lonely. And so,
for
yeah, we
sure.
all need that encouragement on certain days. I think Mike Hambright says it best at every investor fuel meeting. He's like, okay, show of hands, who in the last 90 days has thought about just shutting down their business? And half the hands go up, because all of us, we know it's like, yeah, you have those days. It's like, yeah, I'm done with this. And of course, none of us quit, because
Right.
we love it. And you just have those days. But yeah, the act of the fellowship of being around the other people really makes all that difference, particularly on those days, because then you can reach out to your friend or your buddy and say, man, I'm having a tough day.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, tell me about that. And yeah, and if you try that with your normie friends that don't know anything about this,
Right.
they'll be like, well, oh, that sounds really bad.
Right.
Right? Is that bad?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I had a deal that just like all blew up in my face a few weeks ago. And like, I was just like having a day, and talking to Christina was everything. Like, it turned my whole day around. And she, when you're so far deep in a problem, you can you don't see reason, right? And
Yeah.
she was able to take, you know, a third party view of it and be like, okay, like, you just, first of all, you need to like step away from your computer and then just go like breathe and then do this. And it was just like, she's so right. She's so right. And you're just too far in it that you lose sight of reason, really. But no, that's everything. Having people that understand and can help you navigate those hard days is just everything.
Well, we've been blessed to get to meet you, and we're also, blessed to have you on our channel today, because you've shared a lot of wisdom that I know is going to benefit a lot of people. I know how authentic you are as a person, from knowing you, personally.
Thank
And
you.
I think even people that are, meeting you for the first time, via, this broadcast, they sense the same thing, that you're real, authentic, and that's what that's one of the common themes I've seen with all of the people that we know in Investor Fuel. They're real people.
Right.
They're honest, and if you're not, you don't have much of a future in this business. And so, on by that
100%.
standard, I'm sure you have as long a future as you want to have in this
Yeah.
business. And we wish you the very best.
Thank you so much. And the same with you. You and Christina have just been like amazing to get to know. I'll just to tell the listeners that the last Investor Fuel, well, the last one I was at in Dallas, you guys opened up your home to us, made us dinner, and it's just like it's really cool because I mean, you guys have such a great marriage too. It's a really great example for Jason and I, and we're really blessed to call you guys friends.
Well, thank you so much. And I have to tell you, we enjoyed having y'all here more than you enjoyed being here. I can promise you that. And hopefully next time you're back in Dallas, you'll come and stay with us
Yeah,
again.
and you guys got to stay with us in Phoenix.
Love to.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure that you've probably changed a lot of people's attitudes and maybe their lives today. And I thank you for all that. And we'll have to get together again and talk about things a couple months down the road.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks so much, Christina. Well, thanks for joining us for the final episode of our interview with Cristina Kudlock. As you could probably determine, she knows as much about this topic as just about anyone out there. The interview that we did was far longer than what we put into these 3 episodes. We just pretty much pulled out the parts that would be most important. As you learn more about SEO, more and more of the knowledge that you get will kind of build on what you've learned here in the last 3 episodes. So reach out to Christina if you have any questions. She's an amazing resource. She's got a really wide presence online, and she would love it if you followed her and kind of shared in the wisdom that she's always imparting because she's such a fountain of information that, we all look to her. So thanks for joining us at the Real Freedom Channel. It's been our pleasure meeting with Cristina and having you share with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time.